عبد الحميد مديرية أمن
Major
السويس.
General أيمن محمد عبد الحميد the Security Directive of Suez. Major General محمد عبد الله محمود Cairo Security Directorate.
شريف عبد الفتاح مصطفى قطاع الأمن الوطني.
شريف عبد الفتاح مصطفى National Security Sector.
سامح نبيل عبد المسيح يوسف قطاع الأمن.
عبد المسيح يوسف the Security Sector. Major General أحمد فوزي عبد القادر the General Security Sector.
عميد وائل السعيد السيد التمامي
Brigadier General وائل السعيد التمامي the General Directorate Department of Presidency Affairs.
عميد أشرف محمد مرسي سليمان
Brigadier أشرف محمد مرسي سليمان Visa Security Directorate.
ثانيا نطق امتيازي من الطبقة الثانية عقيد أحمد بلال محمد
Medal
النجار
of
مديرية أمن
Excellency
شمال
from second
سيناء.
degree Colonel أحمد النجار North Sinai Security Directorate. Medal of Excellence from third degree Major سمر عبد الفتاح الرفاعي General Directorate of Cairo Airport Police.
محمد إبراهيم علام الإدارة العامة لمعاهد معاون الأمن.
The General Directorate of Institutes of Security.
أيها الحفل الكريم
Dear attendees,
كلمة قائد مسيرة الوطن
the speech
السيد
of the
الرئيس عبد
leader
الفتاح السيسي.
of this country, President عبد الفتاح السيسي. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most compassionate, members of police system, dear attendees, allow me at the beginning to extend all the greetings and appreciation, wishing you a blessed year. Allow me also to extend a special greeting of appreciation and respect to the families of martyrs of police. There is no thing as providing the souls of sons to the country, which is done by these families without asking for anything in return, wishing nothing but having their country strong, that can never be defeated by any challenge, regardless of its difficulty. Ladies and gentlemen, the destiny wanted to make this day a symbol not only for the police, Egyptian police, and to honor their sacrifices, but a title for the spirit of a challenge of the Egyptian people that on which the policemen faced the occupier, the colonizer, on the 25th of January, believing with actions, not with words, that to die for the country is better than the defeat. The destiny wanted to make this honorable day of the history of Egypt a title for Egyptians' ability to face the impossible and to defeat all the ordeals, like the mountains that are not affected by the winds. This great spirit continued with our people till today. It provides us with unlimited supply of strength and resilience that aids us to face all the challenges. Over the past years, the spirit of a challenge was in all the unprecedented events witnessed by Egypt. If we objectively and fairly looked at these years, we will find that a few estimates were that Egypt will overcome this difficult phase of political and security, social and economic turmoils safely. However, as with the Egyptian spirit of challenge and resilience, they maintained their country and protected with their chests all their historic gains and refused all the calls for destruction and chaos, and supported their national institutions and bared up with patience the way for reformation and development, so Egypt can cross the phase of danger to the phase of construction and the establishment of the new republic that will embody all the dreams and wishes of the citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, building countries can never be achieved without the national security with all its elements and components. Just like the economy that can never be growing without a good infrastructure that is modern and integrated, countries also will never remain without protecting the national security and facing all the dangers that you all know. You, the Egyptian people, who are well aware of the complexions of their surroundings that affects us internally. Within this framework, the policemen of Egypt exert many efforts and sacrifices to the country that we all appreciate and thank. All these efforts and sacrifices offered by the police highly contribute in building our country and protecting the security of each Egyptian citizen living on this land. Great people of Egypt, the developments of the international scene in the past few years carried for all the world, and we are part of this world. many complex events, including the pandemic, then the Russian-Ukrainian crisis. These developments didn't happen in decades and carry within many changes at the geopolitical international levels. These changes negatively affected all the world. In Egypt, we mainly concerned from the very beginning on how to mitigate the effects of these international crises on the Egyptian internal reality. My directions to the government was to incur the largest part of the costs of this crisis as much as we can. Despite all of this, I know that the effects of this crisis is large and hurts the people, especially low-income people and the most needing segments who have a daily struggle that we of course support to provide the needs of their families and sons and to face the increase in prices. I confirm that our commitment to support them and help them is a fixed commitment by the state that have never and will never change. Let me speak with you honestly and clearly. Within all the misleading attempts to make this economic crisis as an Egyptian thing and a result of the economic policy of the state and the projects conducted by the state. In this regard, there are many questions that needs to be asked. Is there unprecedented and violent economic crisis in the whole world or not? Are the largest economies in the world suffering in a manner that is unprecedented for many decades, maybe since the time of the Great Recession and the two world wars or not? Didn't these consequences cause the international crisis for the high price of living? Isn't it normal that this crisis is reflected on us, on Egypt, since we are part of the international economy? Allow me, before continuing this paragraph, to stop and speak about one or two items of what I've mentioned. To speak about them briefly, I will speak about what people say regarding that this crisis is a result from the national projects. These projects, with such projects like the Suez Canal, that had income of $4 to $4.5 billion, if it was not developed after 7 years, to have an income of $8 billion, would it possible to leave this canal without development, to cope up with the developments in the international trade, and do not benefit from the number that I've mentioned now? When studies were conducted for the Suez Canal, targeted reaching to $10 and $12 billion annually. Can this number be compared to the old one? Another point regarding the national projects, the crisis of energy and electricity that we saw. If we're talking about 1 trillion pounds allocated for energy, electricity and gas, would the Egyptian state be able to continue? Let me say that during the past 7 years, we increased, the population increased with 14 million people. And in 10 years, we increased by 10 millions. Was it possible not to conduct a development in the infrastructure of energy and electricity. These are very clear questions for all of us that we need to stop at, because there are always attempts to mislead people. I'm confident of our people, the Egyptian people, that they are well aware of this. I'm just stressing the facts. Another point regarding the projects on the national network for roads and transportation. Would the Egyptian ports play a role in the international trade while we are in a very important location, since we have the Suez Canal and 17 to 18% of the international trade pass from Egypt? Could we just leave the ports without development? Could the existing roads network not be developed? What happened is that, and I'm speaking very honestly, we had to do everything. We are working on every aspect. I didn't have the luxury to say priorities, to leave something for another time. We needed to work at all the files at the same time. All of them required efforts and real confrontation, so the country could face its future. Regarding the national network for roads, I usually wonder if this was not done, how people would work in their daily life. If this network was not developed, what would have happened? How could the state work? Not only Cairo or Alexandria, but I'm speaking about all Egypt. Briefly, I want to say that we didn't have the luxury or the wrong estimation. But just pay attention when you speak about this. Bear in mind the size of the Egyptian state to conduct all of this in that timeline, which is 7 years. It's a very huge burden. If we try to do this now, and on the coming years, it will cost double or maybe 3 or 4 times the current cost. We launched Haya Karima project 1.5 years ago and said that we target to finalize this project in 3 years when we work on the ground to change the life of about 60 million persons in Egypt. This was not also a luxury or an exaggeration, but we just couldn't leave the lives of these people as it is. And to finalize this plan in 15 or 20 years, but we rather wanted to finish this in 3 years. We had a huge plan, but when working on the ground, we found out that we need more time and cost in addition to the economic crisis. Could we just leave the lives of people in Egypt without a change, or to conduct it on phases that takes longer years, every year, every day, without change or reformation in people's life? Some people suffer and live in agony. This regarding the first question that I posed, which is, could we just work and live without these projects? By the way, I do not speak about many details. I know that everyone is listening to me now, and Dr. Shaker is here now. Let me say that to develop the energy sector, in particular the electricity sector, as I said before, and I'm stressing this now to remind you and myself, we didn't only aim to establish new plants. I wanted to renew the current network and establish another network. But was it enough? We doubled the size of the existing network. Am I right, Dr. Shaker? The third point regarding energy, You say that you want to be the center of electric power in your region. How can you conduct this when the capacity of the network you have to transfer electricity through the continents isn't qualified for this? In order to do this, I should have the suitable amount of electric power and a network to transfer this power and controls units and systems. So when, for example, I want to have renewable energy, in the old form of electricity component in Egypt would have never been able to conduct new renewable energy projects, because everything has its requirements, and we were required to do all of this at the same time in a limited time frame. By the way, the controlling systems and stations, we finished 1/3 of these units, which will make the Egyptian network able to interact and work with advanced networks in Europe. Why do we do this? In order just to be proud? No, it's a work requirement. In everything we work on and speak about, you will find scientific justifications, not only political justifications, but also scientific and economic justifications. And if we don't do this, this means we will be neglecting. Those who speak about this, they speak about a very limited part. They want to make you think in a way that is not objective. Why this? Because they don't want this state to be stable after all the attempts conducted over the past years. Let me tell you something. In the last 3 or 4 interviews, I said that we were able to finalize the issue of terrorism, and we will have a celebration not here in Cairo but in Arish and Rafah and Sheikh Zayed.
دولة الرئيس لما راح هناك كان أول مرة الطيارة تنزل من 7 سنين ولا 8 سنين.
When I went there, it was the first time. When the Prime Minister went there for the first time, it was the first time in 7 years that carried the ministers. But after 8 years, we were not able to do this. So will I have this celebration and Rafah and Arish are the same? No, we need to stress the Egyptian state's ability to protect every inch of Egypt. And they can never, no inch in Egypt can be stolen at all. No one can do this. The price was very expensive. It's not only about money, it's about bloods, injured people, martyrs who are dead now, wishing to meet them safely on a great day, on the resurrection day. All the Egyptian people paid the price, and they are the sons of people who are here now and people in their houses. So whenever I speak about the martyrs and the injured people usually comment and say this is not suitable, but actually this is suitable all the time. We can never forget this. It would be a shame if we forget them. And if we forget all their generosity by offering their souls to their countries. In 10 years' time, I wish to be able to say, so after 10 years later, I'm able now to say that there's no terrorism at all. continuing this
هل بقى بعد
point
واحنا بنقابل شويه تحديات زي اللي
while
احنا بنشوفها دلوقتي
facing many challenges like the current challenges.
خايفين ولا واثقين في الله اولا ثم في انفسنا؟
We are confident in God.
الثقه في مين؟ في الله اولا.
We trust God first, then ourselves.
حاجه كشعب اذينا او اعتدينا.
We as people, have we done anything where did we hurt anyone? Actually, we were very patient to avoid conflicts with anyone. God only knows. We tried as much as possible in 2012 and 2013 to avoid any confrontation, but we didn't succeed. It was not me, it was them. They were not able to do this. They believed with what they did, they can demolish Egypt. I always say, no one can defeat a state. No one can defeat a people. No one can.
فمهم قوي ان احنا مش بس نسمع ده ونقوله دلوقتي.
It's important to speak about this now. But it's not only about this.
ونقف زي ما وقفنا لهم.
But we need to be resilient and determined. We need to face the conditions. It's not a result of our actions, but it's the destiny of God, who wanted the world to be like that in the past 3 years. We as a state, we try as much as we can. And the capabilities are not mine or the capabilities of the government. It's the state capabilities. We will do our best to succeed. We are part of the international economy. When you read the news and you know about economies of other countries that are affected, I will not name countries. One of the largest economies in the world is exposed not to be able to pay its governmental debt. Don't you hear about this? By the way, the media does not discuss this, but it's rather the International Monetary Fund that speaks about this and its consequences would shake the international economy more than this. I'm saying this now because we are on our way and we are resilient, and God only will make us overcome this stage. But I explain this now because we are part of the world, we're not isolated. This requires us always to be aware of this and know that we are part of this. When I spoke about terrorism, and I told you to look at the surroundings, the reason why I said this is that people who suffer from these conditions, some of them suffer from them for 20 years and some suffer for 30 years. They were not able to overcome them. I do not want to name countries because we don't want to speak in a bad way about anyone. People have been fighting terrorism for 20 years. How you finalized this battle? Stop and think how this happened. For the love of God. For the love of God only. Think about this. When I said that this country is protected by God, and the people of Egypt will be able to end this suffering. Sometimes we felt pain when we heard about the news of people who died and injured over the past 10 years. Many days have passed, and thanks to God, we say that we finalized our battle against terrorism. Once again, since the economic crisis affects the whole world, we are also affected. Should we be resilient? I'd like also to blame media.
على الإعلام. أنتوا ليه بتصوروا المصريين؟
Why do you speak about Egyptians as if they care only about food?
ما يصحش.
It's not right.
ما يصحش والله ما يصح انك انت
This
تبين
is
ان
not
احنا ايه
right.
مرعوبين قوي على الايه.
To speak about us as if we only care about food and we are afraid about
وكأن الدنيا اخر الدنيا.
eating.
يقول لك مش عارف الحاجه زادت وكلامنا. انا ما بقولش ان ده كلام مش صحيح.
I don't say that the prices did not increase,
اخر الدنيا في مصر.
but this is not the end of the world here in Egypt.
عشان لا احنا بنقول للشعب المصري
We tell the Egyptian people
ان شاء الله تظل وتستمر
that
وتكبر.
this country will remain and will grow with our sacrifices, including this sacrifice in the conditions we are experiencing. It's not resulted by us. In the movie you have seen, the Ministry of Interior exerts effort in monitoring the markets. Do you know what is the meaning to catch drugs in Egypt that are estimated with 7 or 8 billion Egyptian pounds? This is very dangerous. It's our sons and daughters who can be affected by this. These are large efforts, and you want them to monitor each store in Egypt. Though this is done, but the control you're talking about, the theoretical control, that is not objective. You're speaking about a country where there is 1 million people and another 100 million people as refugees and guests in Egypt. We, as officials and intellects, we need to cooperate together to overcome this stage. For the great people of Egypt, I'd like to say honestly that first, the reality and conditions of Egypt at the economic and population levels make it necessary to have development leaps in short time. We are racing time to overcome the dangers of population increase. I don't want to go off the topic, but once again, you blame me, you blame the government. Who else to blame in the population growth? You're speaking about 2 million. So 20 million in 10 years. Did we increase our resources to be enough before the current increase? So what about after the increase of 20 millions? Don't they have requirements regarding food, schools, and health, housing requirements, job requirements, in all the different aspects? Second, the large development projects conducted by the states do not aim to show off, but to establish the necessary infrastructure to achieve the economic development. It's impossible to start the new manufacturing road without the necessary elements to achieve this, including cities and roads, technology, transportation, water and sewage, and all the components of the infrastructure that Egypt did on the needed level to achieve the dreams of its people regarding the progress and welfare. Third, the crisis of dollar gap didn't start today, but it has a recurrent pattern that can be well explained by the specialists. And the core of this crisis is the increase of demand and the low production. So the production and imports are a core issue for Egypt, and we know this and we work on this. The great people of Egypt, achieving hopes requires efforts and patience. In other words, it requires the spirit, the Egyptian spirit of a challenge that was expressed by the events of January 25th, 1952. It was manifested many times in many other historic events in the past, where Egyptians always up to the level of challenge and able to defeat these challenges. I trust in God and in the Egyptian people that we will be able to overcome the international economic crisis and its effects on us with the sincere work and persistent efforts, and believing that God will maintain the reward for those who work well, and that we are able to build a country that achieves our hopes in a good life and progress and welfare. Thank you. Wishing you a blessed year. Wishing success and progress for the police serving the country and the people. And long live Egypt. May peace and blessings of God be upon you.
لجمهورية مصر العربية.
احنا لا يمكن ابدا لا هننسى ولا هنتخلى عن ابناء وبنات شهداء مصر ابدا. الشهداء دول قدموا عشان احنا نعيش، احنا مصر نعيش. اوعى تفتكروا ان التمن ده بسيط. بدمهم وبأرواحهم البلد بقت بلد وبقت صامدة وقوية وبفضل الله قادرة. وربنا يجمعنا بيهم أو يجعلنا منهم.
الشهيد البطل ما زال حيا.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just witnessed live the celebration of the Police Day ceremony at the Police Academy, where President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi attended the celebration on Monday at the Police Academy, saying that Egyptians celebrate the day while they are facing great challenges. The president said that we are witnessing unprecedented events since the coronavirus, then the Ukrainian war caused grave disruptions all over the world. During his remarks, President el-Sisi said that Police Day is a day of challenge of Egyptian people, and maintaining national security is the basis for development and growth. He also said that we back the low-income people, and $8 billion revenues of the Suez Canal have been allocated after being developed. The president also talked about upgrading electricity network that was necessary for energy crisis and increasing population. And he said also that upgrading roads and ports was necessary for the country. The president underlined that the cost of national projects was to increase in case of being postponed, and he said that we are keen to make Egypt a center of energy in the region. Those were some of the president's remarks during the celebration, but more details will come your way with our full comprehensive bulletin, Panorama News. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, more updates and details coming your way on Panorama News. Stay tuned.
مش مهم أي حاجة في الحياة، المهم وقت ما بلدنا تنادينا صوت نداها، أمر ده مفيش شيء معاه يكون مهم ساعتها أو غالي علينا. مش مهم أي حاجة في الحياة، المهم وقت ما بلدنا تنادينا صوت نداها، أمر ده مفيش شيء معاه يكون مهم ساعتها أو غالي علينا. المهم إن المهم أتم حالا وبنجاح، مش مهم ساعتها مين هيعيش ومين في الجنة راح. المهم إن المهم أتم حالا وبنجاح، مش مهم ساعتها مين هيعيش ومين في الجنة راح. المهم والأهم لينا وخلصت الكلام، أهلنا وبلدنا يبقوا كل ثانية في أمان.
قسما بالله اللي هيقرب لها لا اشيله من فوق وش الارض.
دايما جاهزين.
دايما جاهزين.
جاهزين.
جاهزين. جاهزين. احنا دايما جاهزين.
دايما جاهزين.
دايما جاهزين.
دايما جاهزين.
دايما جاهزين.
دايما جاهزين في عهد ما بينا يا بلدي وكلنا متفقين من أول يوم والآخر يوم واليوم الدين. دايما جاهزين دايما جاهزين. اطمني دايما أولادك يا بلدنا جداد وعيوننا بتسهر على راحتك وعلى استعداد. دايما جاهزين ويا مصر اطمن وانت بتمشي في كل مكان. أنا عيني عليك أنا هدفي إن انت تعيش في أمان. أمنك وأمانك عهد علينا احنا أخدناه. دايما جاهزين لما بتلمس خطوتنا الأرض تهز عال. بيروح أبطال بس بيجي مكانهم أبطال يمشوا المشوار. دايما جاهزين وورانا في شعب وطول الوقت الإيد في الإيد. لو عدى علينا الليل علشان مع بعض أكيد بيجي لنا نهار. دايما جاهزين.
اصحى علينا اصحى علينا احنا جينا.
كان له نصيب ان هو يقبل في كليه الشرطه، ودي كانت طبعا بالنسبه له وبالنسبه لنا فرحه كبيره يعني. كان غاوي جيش من هو صغير.
قال له يا فندم انا عايز ادخل سينا وهخش سلاح الصعقه.
نفسي اموت عشانك يا مصر. زغرتي يما وقولي امين.
راحت قالت لي وانا كده ماما ابقى عروسه الجنه ولا ابقى شهيده؟
هو اللي مات شهيد ده بيموت.
الحمد لله ربنا استجاب له دعوه وبقى شهيد، وانا دلوقتي بقيت ام الشهيد. شرف ليا.